What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Millennial in the Middle. If you're new here, I'm Rachel, and as you probably guessed from today's video title, I'm a teacher.
I saw this image on Twitter a few days ago, and it immediately caught my eye because it reminded me that we need to talk about Black Lives Matter in our classrooms. No matter how old these students are, they understand, and if they don't understand, they definitely have questions about this moment. If Elmo can talk to toddlers about racism, we can talk to our students about Black Lives Matter. These issues affect our students today, not 10 years from now, not when they're in college, but at this very moment. So I just wanted to come on here and share some questions and concerns I've been seeing and just offer my perspective.
First question is, what is Black Lives Matter? Black Lives Matter is not only a rallying call for people to stop murdering us, but it's also a nationwide movement that was started in 2013 from 3 Black women who were radical organizers: Alicia Garza, Patrisse Cullors, and Opal Tometi. And so this was really a response to Trayvon Martin's murder in 2013. And I really see, a lot of difference between sort of the movement 4 years ago, even, or the movement 6 years ago when Michael Brown was murdered, to now how a lot of politicians, a lot of corporations are also saying Black Lives Matter, but we're not seeing actual change within the system, right? We're not seeing Black people at these executive levels. We're not seeing sort of representation how it should be, right? Band-Aid, the company, just created skin tone bandages for darker skinned people after how many years, right? And so this is not a new rallying call by any means, but I think that because it is coupled by the pandemic where 40 million Americans are without work, that seeing such brutality without any sort of conviction, arrest, has really angered people outside of the Black community as well. And so I think that is why it has catapulted in such a great manner, greater than what we saw, when the organization was first founded and even during Ferguson. So the second question is, should this even be discussed in the classroom? And I think 100% yes. I think that it's really important to talk to students about this, to check in with them, to just ask them how they're doing. A lot of students have anxieties and fears and confusion at this moment. And even when we go back in August or September, or whenever we end up going back due to the pandemic, those fears, that confusion is not going to go away over the summer. It's going to fester, it's going to manifest, and it's likely going to impact their work. And so another way of talking about it in the classroom would be by connecting it to lessons. So for example, since I'm going to be teaching middle school history, I will be looking at rebellions and riots and revolutions in history in a little different light, and why revolutions and riots, uprisings, all of those things even happen. And so, short answer, yes, talk to your students about it. So the third question is, how are my students impacted by these 3 words? And I would just say that from my own experience, I was 17 when Trayvon Martin was murdered, so we were the same age, and that is the moment I hadn't really heard of that type of hate crime happening, especially to somebody so young. And anytime you hear, when you're young, anytime you hear that someone your age or close to your age was murdered or killed or died in some way, it shakes you to your core. And so that's when I really started to think that we don't live, just because Obama was elected, we don't live in some post-racial society where everybody's all kumbaya. That's just not reality. And so once that happened, it really made me critically think about the world that I live in and the protections that Black Americans just aren't afforded. And so I think my story is probably similar to a lot of other Black student stories where we were confused and shocked and left in a daze for a while. It causes them to really think about their own life and their family and their community. But I think that it also, I think it inspires them to change the world that they live in, because it inspired me to change the world that I live in. So another question that's on a lot of people's mind is, what happens when the protests, or if the protests die down? And so what I would say to that is just continue doing the work. Just because you did one thing doesn't mean that you get the award for being anti-racist or for being an ally or whatever you want to be called. It just means you have to continue doing this. This is an active process of unlearning, and you have to be okay with being uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for everybody to grow from where we once were, right? Everybody comes with their isms and their bigotry on some form. That's just human nature. That's just a society that we live in. But it's our duty to keep unlearning and to do better, not just for us, but for our students. And if you're in English, don't just read Shakespeare. Don't just read Hemingway or whoever else. Include some Toni Morrison, include some Zora Neale Hurston, include some of the wonderful young adult literature that is coming out every single day. So the last one isn't really a question, it's more of a comment that I keep seeing, which is, I'm really uncomfortable with this. I'm not sure if I'm the right person to start this conversation or to have this conversation. And I think that's fine. Everybody's uncomfortable in this moment, and we've been uncomfortable for a lot longer than we want to recognize. This does not end because you read one book or you attended one PD or you stopped doing the slave auction lesson, which you should have never been doing anyways. But this just doesn't end with one piece of the puzzle. So if you see something, say something. If you see that Black students are being punished and disciplined harsher and more frequently than their non-Black counterparts, say something. Stop it. Don't have that happen in your classroom. So again, those were just some of the questions that I saw floating on the internet, and I just wanted to give my own perspective and my own answers to these concerns. I was blown away by what I have seen thus far come out of these movements. I think that we are gonna be okay. I think that we are going to change the world, and we are headed in the right direction. So thank you so much for watching. If you have additional concerns, questions, comments, any of those, feel free to put them in the comment section, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. So I will be sure to catch you all next week. Thanks, bye.